Hey guys, welcome to the Winning Move podcast. I'm your host, Stratton Brown. Before we start, just some quick housekeeping things. Please like, share, go give us a 5-star review, and tell all your friends about it if this brings you value. We have an awesome guest on today. I think the hardest thing of being like a young entrepreneur is finding people who are like you, the same age as you, with the same mindset. And so it's awesome to see you out there killing it. Our guest is Ryan Zolin. He just got nominated for best 40 under 40. So 40 realtors under the age of 40. And he's in that group, which is fucking awesome. And then he's 23. How many flips a month are you doing, man?
We're only at about 1 to 2 flips a month at the moment, but we're doing about 10 deals between all my companies. I've got the traditional real estate team, the wholesale operation, and the flipping company.
Right. Well, and I mean, so you say 1 to 2 deals a month, right? But let's call it 40 grand a month. Like, that's nothing to be like, oh yeah, I guess I'm doing that much money a month. To where generally, I bet before you got started, you weren't even thinking you'd be making that much money, right?
Oh, no way. No way at all. I was expecting, if I could make 5 to 10 grand in a month, I would be jumping up and down. So,
right. My goal, I remember when I came out of college, is like, bro, I'm going to make $100,000 a month and I'm going to be filthy rich. Like, I thought that was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me about how you got into real estate, bro.
For sure. So I started at 18 years old. I went right from high school into real estate school. It was July of 2016. I just didn't want to go to college. It was the traditional route for a lot of people was to go to a four-year university or start off at community college for a couple of years and then make their way to a university. And I just jumped right into real estate school. It took a little bit of a leap of faith and haven't really looked back since.
Why real estate?
Honestly, I don't really have a good answer. I don't really have a good answer on that one. My dad always said, like, hey, like if you want to go to college, I will pay for it if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, attorney, engineer. Teacher wasn't really in the cards for me, but things that were more so necessary. Yeah. And I just didn't really feel as if any of that kind of like caught my attention. I was like, most of those degrees are 6 to 8 years of college. And yeah, you can make some serious money doing that, but I wasn't really the best in school. I graduated high school with a 1.7 GPA. So I just wasn't really big into that. I actually had like this realization. It was over this last weekend that I went to a real estate event. I completely forgot about it, but I went with my brother, my dad, and then one of their buddies. And it was the Rich Dad Poor Dad Robert Kiyosaki event. I was a junior in high school. My brother paid for me to go to an event for a weekend. It was, I don't even remember, I think it was like $3,000. He paid for me and a buddy to go. And next thing you know, here I am 5 years later. I guess it's probably 7 years now at this point. But yeah, I went to that program. I realized that you can make a lot of money in real estate. You don't need a college degree. And yeah, like I said, I didn't want to go to college. Dad was like, dude, just go for it. Just take that chance. Go into real estate school. Worst case scenario, you fail and you're 18.
So did you always want to be an entrepreneur, or is it just kind of what kind of fell into your lap? What made you want to be an entrepreneur?
So we moved out here from Illinois when I was young for my dad and mom to start their own company. It was just the entrepreneurial spirit. They wanted to have a better life for us. They were working the 9 to 5 back in Chicago, and it just wasn't anything special for them. So they took a chance, moved out here, started over with the family, and just haven't really looked back. So I always was around the entrepreneurial mindset from my dad. And then my mom was out passing out flyers when they started up the company. And then just that lifestyle kind of, I guess, became one with me. So
what business did your parents start?
It was a restaurant repair and HVAC company. It's Windy City Equipment.
Awesome. I'm almost the same thing, right? Like both my parents are entrepreneurs, and I just grew up, and this is just what everybody did. Because I grew up in a little country town, to where my neighbor was a plumber, the guy behind me was a contractor, everyone in our church was like a contractor, and everybody worked for themselves. And so I didn't know you'd actually go get like a job. I just thought you kind of like learned a trade, and then you'd go do your thing, and that was your job.
For sure.
What lessons have you learned from your parents? Right? Because at least have some type of a mentor in your life, and you don't have to pay anybody, and they have your best interest at heart.
For sure. Honestly, I think the biggest one, because I could go on and this could be a whole episode itself in lessons, but I would say the biggest one, honestly, is sacrifice. Like something I was just talking about with one of my buddies, Jesse Burrell, and it's something that really like a lot of people don't have it in them, one, and two, it's something that a lot of people just aren't willing to do. So I realized the sacrifices they made. I realized the sacrifice like of my dad not being around during a lot of like my sporting events that I was at. The sacrifice of like my mom being like, you know what, like I'm going to take a risk. Like there's no guarantee here. Let's just do it. So for me, I mean, kind of replicated me going into real estate. It was the sacrifice of at 18 years old, not having to go to college, one, but then also like you lose the friendships, you lose relationships, you lose just time, weekends, parties, like all that fun stuff, like sacrifice it for the better good. So,
all right. How many friends have you lost, and do you still have those relationships that you did before? It's a little bit different because you're coming out of high school, not college.
Yeah. I lost a lot, dude. I mean, I don't have like an exact number. I would say that it was like I had a core group of friends, and it wasn't so much of losing them, more so of just outgrowing. Like I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I went to high school with, a lot of people that I actually went to high school with that I wasn't really in like my core group have actually become some of my closer friends now. But you just realize like as you go through a big change from I'm 23 now, but 18, 5 years ago, getting out of high school, they all either went to go work and get a 9 to 5 or they went to college. Most of my friends ended up going and just getting 9 to 5 jobs. But even so for them, like they're tired. They work a 9 to 5 job. They're like living for the weekends. They're ready to go out. Hey, it's Friday night. Let's go get some drinks. And I'm like, no, I got showings tomorrow morning. I can't. I got to be up at 7 a.m. because I got showings at 8 in Phoenix. But it just is what it was. And quite frankly, I mean, I don't really have much regret about it. But
right. Well, it's like I lose friends because it's hard for me to even like be around them because I know what I want to talk about.
Yep.
And it's not even like interesting to them, right? To where I'm with,
for sure. Right? Like, and especially at that age too. I mean, my age too, being young, like a lot of the conversations that are talked about is girls, parties, stuff along those lines. So,
right. And like, don't get me wrong. I like to party. I love girls.
Oh, of course.
Obviously, right. But it's, in a different context. Like I do the things I do, honestly, because I want to party more. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to party whenever I want.
Absolutely.
Realistically. What is your big why, bro? It's a hard thing when you're just a single dude, and I don't think I want to be rich is a bad why.
For sure. So, I mean, I can go with the stereotypical answer here: financial freedom. I want to have the opportunity to do what I want when I want, and like if I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to go to Italy. Obviously, it's super extreme. Just be like, okay, let's go to Italy. But for like myself personally, honestly, I am a very big family guy. I would love one day to be able to have a family of my own where kids, wife, and just they have a life that there's no concerns. Like I will always be present for my kids. I will be present for my wife. And that's what my goal is. That's super far down the road for me. But at the end of the day, I think those are my two biggest whys.
Right. Well, I don't want the Italy thing to be extreme. I want it to be regular.
Right.
I was listening
it's tough though. There's not a lot of people that have that mentality of like, most people you can say it to and they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like that's like a
right. Like they like laugh you the fuck away. And I'm dead serious, bro. Like I want a fucking jet. Like hands down. I want a jet. I want to be able to wake up and be like, you know what?
Yep.
Let's go to New York. Yeah, let's go to New York.
Let's do it. Yep.
We'll be fine.
For sure.
Call the jet. Get it chartered and let's go. Yep. And my girlfriend and I were listening to that Ed Milet podcast with Brad Lee. And he was like, bro, nothing is cooler than me getting on my own private jet. He's like, I flew to Scottsdale for dinner and I was home by 10 p.m.
Yep.
Like, what's that like? I'm just interested.
Right.
What's it like to live like that, bro? What are the possibilities to live like that? What can I do with the money? What type of lifestyle can I present my family? How much more time can I spend with my family? Because now, like, you start to see how little time you get with people with how much you work. And right, like now, like, bro, how old are your parents?
Gosh, they would kill me. I don't even know. It's got to be 50s, 60s? 50. Yeah, 50s.
We don't have that much time left with them.
Yeah.
Like after we're out of the door, we don't have that much time with them. So I'm sitting constantly thinking about how I can just create more events with my family. Yeah, I'm a huge family guy too.
For sure.
So let's go into your When did you start gaining momentum? Let's talk about the struggle of being an agent at 18 years old and people be like, "You're gonna sell my house? You don't have a
Yeah.
beard yet."
So I had a lot of limiting beliefs when I first got in. A lot of people think they see the stuff on social media. Everybody is treating real estate as if like this is a get rich quick scheme. You could just come in, you sell like 5 homes in a month, right? And you're going to start making millions of dollars a year. Well, I mean, I don't know if people need to hear this, but unfortunately, real estate is not that easy. You have to basically essentially create your own business, but then also be branding yourself as if you are confident in what you're doing and that you can do this on a day-to-day basis no matter what. So at 18, my biggest struggle, honestly, and I mean this seriously, was myself. It was my mindset. I had that same belief of what you just said of like, I'm 18 years old. This is the biggest purchase people are going to make in their entire life. How do I convince someone to let poor, pitiful me at 18 make their dreams come true of buying and selling? Like, again, this is the biggest purchase people make in their entire life. And I'm 18, straight out of high school. And as I like to make the joke to everybody, you learn everything in the world that you need to learn in high school, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely not. You learn nothing in high school. So getting out of high school, I was like, okay, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I had to surround myself by people that I knew were able to do the job, but then would also make me more confident in what I was doing. So I ended up joining onto a team. I was just generating leads for them. I was what they call an ISA, inside sales agent. And I was basically hitting the phones from 9 a.m. to 6, 7 o'clock at night. And so I just surrounded myself by guys that I knew could actually do the deals. And I closed 4 deals in my first 4 months just because I was on the phone all day, every day. And I cannot underestimate how much value that was, just because the biggest struggle I think a lot of people have is being on the phones. For me, it was just like, no, all right, well, if I got to be on the phones, I got to be on the phones, right? So that's what I did.
What else would you give people to overcome those self-limiting beliefs? And I want people to know it's not just like at the beginning you have self-limiting beliefs, like you're constantly breaking through shit. Like right now, you have some that you like need to get by. I know I have some I need to get by to get to the next level.
Of course.
So what else besides being with those people helped you?
Honestly, it's a lot of self-education. Whether it's after work, you're going to be listening to podcasts, you're going to be listening to specific shows, you're going to be surrounding yourself by like-minded people. It was a lot of time, effort, and energy put into myself. My biggest investment I've ever made has been in myself. I've spent well over 6 figures in the 5 years on personal, like just self-education, self-worth. But it's stuff like that. The more you start to realize, like, guys like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, and these guys are nothing special. They're special in the aspect of they are them, but they're just human beings. Like, you're around them, you feel the presence of them, but that's also trained. They've spent how much money and time, effort, energy building their businesses, their brands, their reputations, to where they're just a normal person. They still do the same things we do. It's just that their 24 hours in a day is spent drastically different than 99% of the world. And so I think a lot of it goes into just self-education.
Well, and then even educating yourself on how to carry yourself on stage. Like, people think Grant Cardone is just some pompous asshole all the time, but it's a persona, right? Like, he's had to create Grant over the years to get to where he is, instead of him just, oh yeah, I showed up and I was like this. I've been like this my whole life.
For sure. And I mean, there comes a point with like the status of that, like, you can't be a pushover. You've got to kind of put your foot down. And I was actually just talking to my dad about this, but like, sometimes you can't come across like the arrogant asshole. You got to be the guy that's like, okay, you know what? I've got that charm. But also there's times where you do have to put your foot down and be like, you know what? No, I'm a badass. This is what I do. I don't have time for this. Like, if Grant Cardone cared about everybody and their feelings and everyone liking him 24/7, he wouldn't be Grant Cardone. So as you go through that self-worth stuff, it helps. But yeah.
How have you built up your confidence to be able to even get to the point to where you think I'm a badass? And again, like, this is a constant thing of thinking you're a badass enough to be where you're at and not run into the imposter syndrome.
For sure. So kind of, I guess, even go back to answer to the other part of like, when did I get momentum? I left that team that I was on at Keller Williams. It was a great experience for me. Like I said, I closed the 4 deals in the 4 months. But after that, it was like, I partnered up with this guy. I was deciding originally between brokerage A and Keller Williams. I ended up going with Keller Williams because of the salary, and it was a team. I felt I had more support. But this other brokerage that I was looking at, I actually had a connection that I didn't even know. So my dad, taking care of the restaurant equipment and HVAC, he had this guy in his network that owned this pizza shop that's right by Arizona State University. And ironically, this guy's an agent over at that brokerage that I was still at, like I was looking at. So I was like, it just kind of felt right. So I met up with him for coffee and I'm like, hey dude, look, I understand the value here. I know how to work through leads. I know how to generate leads. I know how to be on the phone all day. I will discount myself and I will learn how to do this entire business from you if you are willing to split these deals with me. And so when he was like, you know what, I like your dad, I'll take you under my wing, let's split this 50-50. For me, that was like my first like real set of confidence because one, I mean, the pay that I got at the team was like dirt cheap. And so then on top of that, I had a guy that had my back that was splitting everything with me 50-50. It was just the deals I brought in, not the deals he did. So he still got to do his own business. We weren't business partners. But while we were just learning the business the first year, we ended up being the number 3 team at the brokerage. We cleared over $100,000 in commission. I was like, oh my gosh, like, dude, this is nuts. Like, I feel like I have confidence. Not only did I learn how to do traditional residential, like I started to learn commercial real estate. And we were the number 3 team at the brokerage, like I said. So then it was the next year I sat down with them. I'm like, I want to create a team. I want to be business partners. I realize that you and I can only go so far together. Why don't we have a bunch of other people work for us and bring in deals too? So if him and I had a bad month, maybe we had agent 1, 2, and 3 bring in 2 or 3 deals each that helped balance us out. And then next thing you know, it was like before I could blink, we had 22 agents, and yeah, it was pretty nuts there for a minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how important was it of giving up the equity just to learn? Right? Because
that's like a piece of information that like when I share with people, the amount of people that I've had that kind of like not get disgusted, but more so are just taken back of like, dude, like you gave up half your money. And I'm like, but I learned everything.
You got an MBA. You got an MBA in real estate for free.
100%. And if I could go back and do it all over again, the only thing I would have done differently is I would have been on that team a little bit shorter and I would have tried to partner up with him sooner on. Because when I left with him and everything split apart, everything was perfect timing for how that all worked out. But if I could have been with him a little bit earlier, the amount of money that I think him and I could have made much quicker and how much more I could have learned quicker too as well would have been just drastic. But everything happens for a reason. The cards went the way they did and I've got no regrets. It was the best thing in the world I've ever done, discounting myself. And that's some things that I teach a lot of people that I coach. I tell them like, hey guys, you've got to be willing to eat some of the money up front, especially when you don't have money to bring to the table. And that was another thing. I didn't have money to be like, hey, can I give you $500 a month? Can I give you $1,000 a month? Yep. I was like, I just know how to generate leads and do deals. So it was like in my head, I'm like, okay, why would I not just discount mine? You still do your business. Don't worry about what I do. And when I bring a deal to the table, just help me do it and we'll split it. It's basically free marketing for him. So
exactly. But I worked for a guy for like a year and a half for free and I'd make $1,500 off of a wholesale deal.
Yep.
But again, I learned commercial. We built out an in-house call center. I managed like most of our day-to-day bullshit.
Wow. Yep.
To where I would not be anywhere near where I am now. And again, the confidence that it gave me of 100%. Like when I leave on my own, I'm like, bro, I've done this before. I know what it looks like. I know what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
It's just the next step.
Oh, for sure.
So that was massive for me. And so what are your 4 businesses that you have right now?
Yeah. So I've got my traditional real estate team. It's the Zolin Group. It's where we help families buy, sell. We also do a lot of commercial deals as well. We've got my 34 Holdings company. That is my investment side. We do flips, wholesale, subject to a bunch of creative finance deals through that one. My third company is 34 Investments. That's my holding company. So any properties that we buy, rentals, all that, they go into that. And then we just acquired, we bought from a lady from Facebook, actually. We bought a staging company. Kind of goes hand in hand with all of it. Yeah. But we just got everything all signed yesterday. And so we bought that company. But yeah, that one should be up and running here probably within the next 30, 60 days.
So how'd you buy it? One of my friends was like, yeah, bro, I just went on Craigslist and I bought a rain and gutter company. And then another one of my friends sold his company on Craigslist.
So yeah, I mean, there's like, you can do stuff like that. Ironically, back when I was with that guy, we did quite a few business broker transactions. So again, I learned the traditional commercial, all that fun stuff.
Wow.
We sold businesses. So we sold the nail salon, we sold the recording studio, we sold a pizza shop, we sold another restaurant, we sold a bunch of just actual companies. So I learned how to run all that. I just was like, okay, let me see your P&Ls. Let's draft up a purchase contract. And then it's treated just like an escrow. We put down a down payment. We've got like 30 days. We've got like an inspection period of some type. But yeah, we drafted up all the paperwork and had the lady sign it, and we negotiated down the price to where it made sense for us. And yeah, it's been a fun one.
Are you buying it on a note or are you doing all cash?
Cash.
And why? So what made you want to buy a staging company?
It's funny. I have a buddy of mine that I just got him to quit his 9 to 5 job a few weeks ago, and he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, man, I found this potential deal on Facebook." And in my head right away, I'm like, "Okay, like, give me the numbers on it. Like, what's the deal? Is it a house? Is it a building? Is it land? Like,
Yeah.
whatever." And he's like, "Actually, it's a company." I was like, "You know what? You haven't really steered me wrong. I'll hear you out." And he's like, "It's a staging company. She wants, it was at the time, it was like 35,000. I'm like, "Okay, well, first things first, like, is it worth that much in furniture? Like, let's figure all
Right.
this out, logistics and all that." And he went out to go look at it, and then he started getting in negotiations with her. And then I went out the next week. I looked at it, and it was like she took us to 5 different locations. It was like 4 storage units and one house she has staged. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, man, this furniture is worth that 10 times over in itself
Right.
already. Let's just do it. Worst case scenario, we fail, we sell all the furniture. And then I was like, you know what? No, don't have the mindset of we're gonna fail. Like, we're gonna go for it. This goes hand in hand with our flips. We're flipping a lot of houses, we're listing houses. If I have the ability to add another leg to my real estate
For that.
business that is going to be able to help my clients and help myself with like flips that we're doing sell for more, why not? And so I actually was able to bring my mom in on it as well. And she's going to be an interior designer for the company. And then the goal is to get her out of her current business that she's in so that she can do this full time with us.
That's crazy. I mean, 30, what was her motivation?
So she had a shoulder injury, and her husband didn't want her to do it anymore. So one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Right.
And we got it pretty low, dude. We actually got it like a lot lower than 35. So,
that's bananas, dude.
Yeah.
Adulting, I've learned how much furniture fucking cost.
Dude, believe me, I know. And I would say with confidence, we're at about $50,000 to $55,000 worth of furniture in itself. So yeah, we're already in the green, in my opinion. The hardest part is that we're actually transitioning. We're in a current office space that doesn't have much room. So we're looking at commercial leases to have a warehouse in back that we can store all the furniture in. So we'll be moving here probably in the next like 3 months.
So what does your real estate team look like?
Whew, good question. On the traditional side, it's myself. I don't really do too much traditional at this point. I'm only helping friends and family. I don't really have too much passion for that side anymore. Kyle is my right-hand man. He's my director of operations. He handles most of the paperwork. He handles all the agent onboarding, interviews, basically all the fun headaches. So Kyle's got that. Then we've got Albert. He's the guy that just quit his 9 to 5. He is primarily like on the investment side, but he's a licensed agent. We've got Amber, and she's a traditional agent. She is a rock star. She's been with us for about, I think, like 7-8 months. And then I think that's it on the traditional side. The investment side, it's myself. Albert, like I said, is primarily on there. We have an acquisition manager, Dylan, an acquisition manager, Jack, and then we've got a couple of VAs.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you decide to hire an acquisitions manager?
At the point where I got overwhelmed. It was where I just felt like I had my hands in way too many different things. And it was like my phone, I mean, I can't even say like it's good now, but it's like usually at any given time I had between 200 and 300 text messages, and it was like 700 messages. I felt like I couldn't respond to everybody. It was too much. It was so many people starting to send me properties being like, "Hey, what would you pay for this? Hey, I have this wholesale deal. I have this, I have that." And then I do a lot of coaching and mentoring between a course that I'm in, Astro flipping with Jamil Damji, Josiah Grimes, and the Keekley fam. And then I also coach outside of that program as well. So it was like I felt like a lot of those people needed my time and attention, and I just didn't have the time to do it. So I was like, you know what? I need to bring on people that can basically just run my numbers. They can be underwriting deals for me on a day-to-day basis. They can be hitting the phones. They can be managing VAs, so on and so forth.
So how in the world did you get into coaching and Astro flipping?
So Astro flipping, ironically, shout out to them. They were the ones that kind of connected it all together. For me, I was already doing I think I had done like 35 million in sales in like the 3 years that I was in traditional real estate. And I wanted to go and do wholesaling. Part of the reason that I split apart from my partner and those 22 agents was that I sat down with the brokers and I was like, I want to flip homes. I want to wholesale deals. And they told me it wasn't possible. And I was like, yeah. And so I'm like, like there has to be a reason. I could tell you now in hindsight, it's because wholesale deals don't go through a brokerage. So they don't get any money on that.
And they weren't going to collect any revenue. Really?
Exactly. So they didn't teach me about it. Ironically, now they are trying to get into wholesaling, but that's a whole different story. And so when I was trying to figure all that out, I have to give a huge shout out to one of my best friends, Templeton Walker. This guy I met with when I was making some noise at the brokerage. I said we were the number 3 team. We were on track to be the number 1 team when I left that year. And I sat down with him for breakfast one day, and he's like, dude, I'm wholesaling. My traditional team is like doing 50 to 70 million a year in sales. And then I usually bring in like an extra $400,000 on the side doing wholesaling. And he just kept like eating his breakfast or drinking his coffee or whatever. And I'm like, hold on, time out. I'm like, did you just say 400,000 on the side? Like
side income, just a little side income.
Wait a second. And so after he said that, it was like, I'm like, okay, I need like an explanation. And of course, kind of same thing. It's like, I didn't have any value to bring him. So the information he was willing to give was kind of limited, and completely understood for that. But I was like, I just need to figure this out. And this quote that he said to me stuck with me. And I still tell this story to everyone I talk to. But what he said to me is what got me to leave the brokerage that I was at and my partner. But he's like, you are the big fish in the small pond. It's a very small brokerage, and you're on track to be the number 1 team, and you've already hit your ceiling at 20 years old. How would you like to be the big, or instead of being the small fish in the big pond, how would you, or the big fish in the small pond, sorry, how would you like to be the small fish in the ocean surrounded by the sharks? And I was like, ooh, like, I don't know what it was, but in that moment I jumped ship. I'm like, let's do it. And so I went to EXP. We were at it's the MLM marketing company, but he kind of took me under his wing. And that's where I first started to learn about the concept of wholesaling. Then after we were there it was only like 3 months, 4 months, we both didn't like how the system worked. I didn't like how it was with my team, kind of a little backstory. But then we went back over to the brokers that he was at prior, which is Stunning Homes Realty with Steve Train.
Steve-O.
Yep. And Steve opened up the door to so many network opportunities for me. And the first one was Jamil Damji. I went over to the Keegley office and I was like, I hear you're the godfather of real estate. I need to figure out how to get into wholesaling, how to get in this investment game. What do you have for me? And he's like, I've got this course coming out. It's about 2-3 weeks out, but it's called Astro flipping. And I didn't even let him say the price. And I was like, here's my wallet. Here's my card. I don't care. And I have no idea why I was like that, because it was such a big purchase. It was $6,000 at the time, but I actually was the second student in the program. And so all that backstory, while I had already done 30 million in sales, the hardest part I think for people in the investment world is escrow and contracts. I knew title could handle 90% of escrow problems, and contracts, everything's fixable with an addendum. So I was like, I'm game. Teach me what I need to know. And so I was just such an open book sponge with that program that when I went in and I saw like how to wholesale, it was like a light bulb clicked. I'm like, I get it. I understand. Like, use inspection period, AB contract, assignments. Assignments are basically just addendums, but somebody else is taking over the contract. Yep. Double closes if you don't want someone to know. Okay, done. Let's do this. And so I just kind of hit the ground running. I was like one of their first true success stories in the program. And then it was like a year after the fact, they were like, we're going to start coaching. And I would love for you to be kind of like that head guy teaching the students. So.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So then here we are now 3 years later and rocking and rolling.
Why didn't you like EXP? Grant Cardone just came out saying he's like all on board with EXP.
Well, of course. I mean, if you're at the top of the pyramid scheme, it makes sense. I love Grant Cardone. I've got nothing bad to say against him. But if you've got an influencer mentality, I mean, it'd almost be stupid to not be at a brokerage like that. I was doing very well. My passive income was almost $2,500 a month. Where I can tell you it doesn't work is that most brokerages, what they do with teams is they're not team friendly. So EXP has a split that's 80-20. Let's not even get into the $85 a month subscription to be at a brokerage working, whatever. But 80-20, you're going to have 20% taken off the top. So if you're a team and you have a 70-30 split, you're really a 70-30 of an 80%. I can't go around sleeping at night telling people that we're going to join me being like, hey, guess what? You're a 70-30 when you're not truly a 70-30. So while I was succeeding with the passive income, I was succeeding with the shares, all this stuff, I felt like it was at the cost of my agents. And again, I am not in this business to screw anybody over. I was on a team where I felt like I was kind of taken advantage of with pay, and that just did not sit well with me. That's aside from the fact that they lost 4 checks and the onboarding process was a living nightmare. But for me, I did not work the model that I was trying to run. And then they're also kind of gray on wholesaling. So
they're gray on wholesaling too.
Yeah, it's very by the book. And so I think they've gotten more lenient since, and I'm sure the onboarding process has gotten better. They've gotten a lot of it cleaned up. I was part of like the original crew that was with like my down, like, or my upline or whatever you want to call it. It was pretty strong. It was with Chuck Fazio with Revelation. It was Curtis Johnson, Kevin and Fred, Templeton, and then myself. Like the guys that were in that downline, I have nothing but the utmost respect for. They taught me a lot. I got a lot of just value from being around those guys. But the business model of EXP itself, just for me, was really, really, really hard to get comfortable in. And then, I mean, I just felt like my bills kept going up. I mean, I was paying to be at a brokerage to have a split that you can pay $100 a month to be at a place that'll give you 100% commission. So once I wasn't happy there, Temp and I sat down and I was like, I'm just not feeling this place. What do I do? And he's like, dude, I'm so happy you said that. I'm not really happy either. And so then that's when he brought me back over to Stunning Homes. And he's like, hey, Steve, this is Ryan, Steve. And Steve used his magnificent sales training on us. And I actually turned him down originally. But then he came back to me. He's like, what if I offered this, this, and this? And part of it included one-on-one mentorship from Steve himself twice a month. And I know the value of that. So I, without hesitation, jump ship again from EXP over to Stunning Homes. And I haven't looked back since. This is year 2, I think, Steve, year 3.
And you still get one-on-one coaching from him?
Twice a week or twice a month. Sorry.
How big has that been for you?
Well, I would say my net worth has probably quadrupled since I've been with Steve.
Right. Since meeting Steve, my net worth has
quadrupled. Tripled, quadrupled. Yeah.
So you got that, and you're still at Stunning Homes.
Yep.
So tell me about, what are you guys doing holding wise? And how are you guys separating yourselves in that insane market, that hellhole of a market, bro? Yeah,
it's a tough one. Holding wise, my family has a property in Tucson. It's a mobile home picked up at $55,000. It's kind of renting out for $850 a month. So cash flow on that is, I mean, we're at like 15%. We just picked up one in downtown Gilbert that I actually, for the first time, I'm like, you know what? Let's not flip it. Let's not wholesale it. Let's rent it out. Let's keep it. So we're actually going to go in there. We're going to burr this one. We're going to put in probably 10, 15, pull out the money, refinance, and then rent it out and just be cash flow and hopefully $200 to $300 a month. So I've flipped 2 homes in that neighborhood already. And I've kind of kicked myself on both of them. Like, why did I wholesale this? Why did I flip this one? So.
And then what does your wholesaling company look like?
Yeah, so in regards to acquisitions, that's where most of my team is placed. I handle more of the transaction coordination and dispositions. Okay. So acquisition managers, their day-to-day is just making calls, looking through the MLS, building relationships with other realtors, and then basically just trying to get first looks on properties. Other than that, if they've got downtime, they're out door knocking, they're sending texts through our Podio system, they're calling out a Podio. And then once they lock up a deal, it goes to me to review. I say yes or no on the contract. And then I will blast it out to like my 5 to 10 like close buyers. And then I get some feedback from them. And then if they don't want it, we'll consider taking it down ourselves. So.
Okay. And then how much of your business comes from networking, at least flip-wise?
All of it. All of it. Seriously. So most of my business, and this is where I kind of like hang my hat pretty proudly, is that I've done such a good job replicating Templeton's model of just building relationships with other realtors that other real estate agents, other wholesalers, and then actually, believe it or not, on-market deals. Those are my 3 best sources of deals. So MLS has kind of been like my bread and butter. I've like figured out a way to master that, where we'll pick up a deal that's $500,000, get the 3% commission off that $500,000, and then turn around and either wholesale it out for 20, 30, 40,000, or we'll take it down, flip it, and then we'll obviously just make that profit on top of the commission.
Really?
Yeah. MLS has been like we picked up 4 deals this week so far. Every single one of them has been the MLS.
You're kidding.
No, like it's.
And so what are you doing, bro? Are you just first there? Like you're the first one to reach them or what?
I'm a real person. I pick up the phone, I call, I have a genuine conversation with them. I tell them exactly what I'm planning to do. And I offer to send them proof of funds. I offer to show them my past deals. And then I don't think a lot of agents are good at this, but I follow up. I see a lot of people that are other wholesalers that go and lock a deal up that they have no intention of closing. And we personally guarantee our price. So if I say I'm going to give you $500,000, I guarantee you I will pay that $500,000, aside from anything being astronomically wrong with the property. Yep. But
wow, 4 off the MLS alone. I only know.
Yeah.
And
not only that, they're in Gilbert and Chandler too, which is like the most competitive part of the valley. Like, yeah, it's been nuts.
That's good though. I mean, people talk about, oh, I spent X amount on marketing. But like, I don't care. Like, how much did you take home? Right? Like, how lean were you?
Yep, I love
How
when
much
people are
came
like,
back?
"Oh man, my return. Like if I'm running a 20 to 30% profit, I'm killing it. Our profits at about 70 to 85% just at any given time. So
Right.
we're keeping pretty lean between the two big companies, the traditional and the wholesale. We're at about like 4,500 to 5,000 a month, and that's including office space. So I know people that spend that in just mailers by itself.
For 2 weeks, bro. Like,
Oh,
especially out
absolutely,
in your market,
absolutely,
bro. There are some
absolutely.
very, very, very large budgets
Yep.
that
Oh,
have
for
to
sure.
keep
I
things
mean, I've
moving.
got buddies that spend $500,000 a month, like straight up. So
Yeah, that
they
don't make
spend
no sense.
$500,000, but they make 1.5. I mean, I know there's even Sean Terry out here. He did over $1 million in a wholesale fees last month. Like, it's just
Really?
yeah, it's a pretty intense market out here. This is the most, in my opinion, this is the most competitive market in the entire country.
Well, so like there's Salt Lake is super competitive, but
Mhm.
what's the word? There's not enough people.
Yep.
Phoenix is so big that
Yep.
like all those people can stay in there, and then there's still all this random market share that everybody's still grabbing.
For
Like, think
sure.
about a random Joe Schmo is still coming in and doing a deal, bro, with all the
Absolutely.
money everybody else is doing.
Absolutely. I
It's
teach that
crazy.
all the time about other realtors. I'm like, there's like 55,000, 60,000 realtors in my state. And some of them are getting listings using flip phones as their camera for the listing photos. So I
Yes.
use those as examples to be like, if this is our competition, we've got no excuses.
Zero.
Zero.
So tell me about your coaching, bro. Again, and it was a
Yeah,
self-limiting belief I had to get over with coaching people.
for
Because
sure.
I just got to a point in time to where people were wasting my time. That's why I started charging.
Yep.
I was like, because I'd help
Absolutely.
people and then nothing would come from it. And then there's less time with my family.
For
So
sure.
I was like, all right, put some skin in the game before I waste my time talking to you. And for lack of
So
better words.
as for the Astro flipping, I actually do that one for free. If there's somebody's in that program, I want to say I give as much time as I can, and it's basically the time that I have that's free aside from my businesses.
Uh-huh.
But those people all understand the value of my time, and so they know when I get to them, I will give them my undivided attention. But they also understand that they're not going to have access to me 24/7.
Yep.
So I don't charge anybody that's in that program. It's an agreement I have with them, and obviously, like the way it works is that I teach people that are hopefully going to be bringing me deals to JV with them. So whether they need help with the contracts, whether it's confidence, whether it's finding a buyer for them, maybe I am their buyer, whatever. It's hopefully just an outlet for me to get some more deals. So I'm coaching like 16 people in that program. And then outside of that, I actually started coaching from TikTok. I have no idea how I kind of fell into that. It was just more of
Really?
like the opportunity came to me. I started posting on the program or platform, and next thing you know, I think I just passed 17,000 followers. It was yesterday. And I have like 5 or 6 people that pay me a lot of money every month. I'm charging about $500 an hour for my time, and I get people that pay that pretty religiously.
And is this
So
for traditional or just overall?
it could be for whatever they want. So I've had people that call me. So what I do is like I've got 3 options. Option one, it's like $150 for 30 minutes. $300 for an hour, and those are usually more of like consultations. It's for people that are already doing deals or have just simple questions that they want answered. The third option is $500 a month, and those people get usually 1 or 2 calls with me for an hour, and it's like a subscription basis. But if I'm not available, they have access to me 24/7. Again, if I'm not available, they've got access to my team. Like if they need help running numbers, contracts, whatever, my team also is trained to be available to help them if they get a call. So outside of that, though, I mean, like I had a call that was today, and I've got another one tomorrow for 30 minutes, $150. And I mean, I think that's what it's worth at the moment. I know what a lot of the guys that I'm coached by, they charge per hour, per year. And in comparison, I usually say to like the people that are like, oh man, that's so much money that you charge. And like, you haven't talked to some of the big boys, have you?
Right.
Like some of the guys I know, like I even know Steve. We were talking about this on Sunday at the real estate meetup that he had. He was telling somebody, you want personal one-on-one coaching for a year? It's $100,000. He hasn't had anybody take him up on it. But the fact that that's his going rate, $100,000 for one-on-one coaching, that's not even getting into the detail of what it is. That might be one-on-one for one meeting a month. Like,
Oh yeah, bro. I just
so,
paid 35 grand and I got,
yep,
I think, a bargain. And I have a 20-minute call with this dude once a week. And then I think this week it goes to once a month. And it's like 20
yep,
minutes to where I have
yep,
3 questions.
yep,
Right. And whatever that comes out to, that's a lot of money an hour.
100%. And at the end of the day,
100%
like
worth it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's it's almost like a coaching consultation business in itself. And I don't feel like my prices are that expensive, honestly. I mean, I would pay for it, especially I feel like with the knowledge that I have and how much time and attention is devoted to these people. Like they come in, they can ask me anything, whether it's traditional real estate. How do I get this? How do if should I get licensed? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm building out a team. I'm scaling. What's this? What's that? I go very in depth with these people. We go through P&Ls. We go through what their mindsets are, their situations, their financial situations, and then I tailor it. Every single person's different. It's specific to that person and the advice that I think that they should have. And then obviously, if they tell me like, "Oh, I don't want to do this," okay, I understand. This is your life. Structure it how you want. So.
And why'd you lose the love for traditional real estate?
Oof, man, this is a tough one. It's tough saying this, being licensed still, but with buyers, it was really, really tough for me just to almost sympathize. I really have a passion for just helping people. I love that more than anything. And I think that's what's kind of led to me doing the coaching, is that I just have this passion for teaching. The traditional side, I felt like I was limited to what my potential was with growth. I feel like you can go and be that 50, 60, $70 million team a year, but your overhead is ridiculous. And then the conversations that you're having, the fires you're putting out, it didn't make sense for what I felt like my worth was. I also like to say, buyers, it's tough. I feel like a lot of them are walking in I need this, 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 and this. And in a market like where we're at, it's really tough to tell somebody, no, you can't afford that, or no, that's not available, or man, you just need to make more money, or you need to be qualified for more money. That's not an easy conversation to have with people. And a lot of times it doesn't come across the best when you're a 22, 23-year-old telling someone that's twice your age, you can't afford that. So then what do? Even if it's good or bad, the realtor is always the one that's at fault. So when it's good moments, go us. When it's bad moments, even if it's on title or lenders, 99% of the time, the realtor is the one that's blamed. So that part of it sucked. And then sellers, I love listings, especially in a market like this. And like I said, I still help friends and family, and I will bend over backwards and I will fight like nobody else for all of my clients. And I can vouch for every single person on my team that we will go to bat. And I promise that we are one of the best real estate teams in the entire state. Now, with all that said, sellers, it seems like a lot of people seem to say oh, well, you should see Sally's house down the street. They have this, 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 and this, but my house is worth $50,000 more than theirs, even though theirs has more upgrades because of X, Y, and Z. And so you're like, oh, is that how that works? We've got a saying right now.
How do you talk them out of that? How do you bring them back down?
You got to ground them. It's very difficult conversations, but again, that's where I say my team is one of the best, is that we're willing to have the hard conversations. We're willing to put ourselves out there and tell somebody, hey, unfortunately, this is the situation you're in, and we're prepared to walk away from deals. And we've done that. We've fired clients. We don't do anything that's not worth our time. And so right now, I was just talking with Kyle, my director of operations, and what he had just said, it was brilliant. Sellers have a house that's worth 380. They want to list it at 400. And if they don't get 420, they're pissed. And if you can't wrap your head around that $40,000 difference of entitlement, I mean, in this market, yeah, some things are pretty crazy, but you have to be realistic. You have to understand what the market is, where we're at. And at the end of the day, if your house is only worth X amount, it's really only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. There's a lot of times people are willing to waive their appraisals, put down hard earnest, waive inspection as is, whatever, all these ridiculous terms. It's not like that for every house. We just wrote an offer today, we got accepted, that was $15,000 under the list price, and we got it. I mean, you got to be willing to understand what your house is worth. So it's really just hard conversations. But the traditional side, again, I will never shut down my traditional side. I've got that team basically running pretty smoothly without me being hands-on. But with all that said, it's just my passion's more on the take a beautiful or a bad house and turn it into something beautiful. Take a bad situation where somebody's in foreclosure, tax liens, code violations, all these different bad situations. I can catch them up on their mortgage, take over their house with the existing payments, and make it a creative finance deal. I can turn around, I can wholesale this property, and I can make everybody's problems go away while still pocketing some money myself. So I'd rather be doing stuff like that.
So what do we got? Yes. How did sports play? What sports did you play in high school? When you said
I didn't play in high school. I played. It was basically all the way up until junior high. But I was doing soccer, baseball, and then I had karate. It was 7 days a week.
Why'd you stop playing sports?
Dude, I don't know. Like it was not a I don't really know. Like soccer, the team that I was going to try out for, I was guaranteed to make it in seventh grade, and I didn't like that it was guaranteed. Eighth grade. Seventh grade, I didn't make the school's team, and it was a good like kick in the ass for me. It was like, oh man, you know what? I'm not as good as these guys.
Yeah.
I need to step it up. I ended up transferring from Gilbert schools to Chandler schools in eighth grade, and I was going to make the team, and I was just like, man, like I'm going to be one of the best players on the team. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that I quit, but at the end of the day, like that's really just what it was in eighth grade. As for baseball, I was scared. I was a little dude. I got an injury where I was playing catcher, first base, and pitcher, and someone swung a bat around, smacked me in the back of the head and shoulder, and it was like I got so scared that I quit, and I never got back on the horse. It was one of my regrets in life. I feel like I actually was pretty good. I still like to play softball and all that. So, but yeah, no, I walked away from the game. I think that it all worked out the way that it was supposed to, obviously. But yeah, I was very, very, very active as a kid. Like I said, 7 days a week. I'm pretty sure it was like Tuesday, Thursday was like baseball practice. Monday, Wednesday, Friday was like karate. And then I think I had like soccer practice one of those days. Then Saturday was soccer games. Sunday was baseball games. So, and very active.
That's cool. What are you doing to grow now? Like, what are you doing to keep growing, right? Because again, you don't want to hit your ceiling when you're 23.
For sure. So I can say with full confidence, even while I have all this knowledge and a lot of growth and knock on wood, all the success, I make sure that when I'm in rooms with other people, I'm the dumbest person in the room. So surrounding myself with guys like Steve Trang, Templeton, Josiah Grimes, Jamil Damji, like all these guys, these big players. I mean, I am so far away from where I want to be long term, but also more importantly, like I look at where they're at. You can't have this level of comparison. You can't compare like my chapter 10 to their chapter 60. But I know if I'm surrounding myself with those guys, that it's impossible for me to go down. I'm only going to be going up. I'll be leveling up more and more as the years go on. And what I tell everyone on my team is like, if you're not closing a deal today, it's okay, but make sure you're learning something. Make sure you're getting better every single day. And I promise you're snowballing in the right direction. That's how real estate works. You're going to snowball up or you're going to snowball down, and it's usually pretty quickly and pretty rapidly. So,
and what are some of your goals for the next 5 years?
Ooh, great question. So personal wise, I would say possibly family. I would say that down the road there would be more of the financially free route of just not having stress, just get to, I don't want to say kick back because I'm not the type of guy that would ever retire, but I'm more of the guy that will always be working and trying to help and give back, so on and so forth. Business wise, I am not exactly sure. I feel like that's one I've been contemplating back and forth for some time now. I was doing some reflecting over the past like 2 months, and I don't know, because I can personally see the traditional real estate side being click, click, click. You bought a house in 3 steps and agents go away. I can see that being a thing in the next 5 years. I would say more importantly is that I'm trying to make sure that I'm recession proof. Market goes down, but then also that I'm protected no matter what. So market goes down, we buy everything. Market goes up, okay, just keep buying strategically like we are. But I would really like to get more, like, I guess I'd say just more complex in the wholesale and flip game. I would love to get to a point where we're flipping 5 to 10 deals a month.
All right, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the logistics of that is an absolute headache.
It is 100%. So it's going to be building a team, scaling. Fortunately, the guy that I've got with me that quit his 9 to 5, Albert, he is an integrator at heart, and building out systems and processes with a guy like that, with me being the visionary, I could just see this being something absolutely massive. So I'm talking a lot more VAs. I'm talking more acquisition managers, maybe junior acquisition managers, having just more people in place to where we can all have workloads taken off of us so that we have more opportunity for growth and scale.
I love it, man. What's your top book that you recommend to people?
That's a tough one. What do I got on my shelf? I got it. Traction. Yeah.
Self-development book besides Traction.
Self-development wise. That's another tough one. Let me see what I got. Steve actually just gave me this one. It's The Road Less Stupid.
I have that on my list.
Yeah, so I've gone through that one only one time. I like that one, and then I guess what is it? It's Miracle Morning. I always mess that one up. It's Miracle Morning. Yeah, yeah, I like those two. My mornings are all designed by the Miracle Morning, even though I can't remember the title of it. And then the Road Less Stupid. Steve says I like to overthink, so I've gone through that one.
Oh yeah, and for someone who's just getting into really business, what would your advice be for them?
Oof. I go back to the word sacrifice. You've got to be willing to do what everybody else isn't. Unfortunately, like people in there and like to be an entrepreneur, you got to put in 80, 90 hours a week and you just give up your life. Well, maybe that is true for a year or two or even months, who knows? I mean, it just depends on how hard you're working and how focused the time is. It's not permanent. So the destination is going to be like what you want it to be. Sacrificing is something that I don't think 99% of the world is capable of doing, and everybody wants things just kind of handed to them. While I've had the 22 agents, I've had a lot of people, even from splitting apart with my partner. We just let a guy go a few months ago or a couple months ago, and it's like what people don't realize is that it seems like everybody just has their hand out. Everyone wants just things like, if I have a deal, I'm just going to give it to you. And not only am I going to give it to you, I'm going to walk you through how to do it. I'm going to do all the paperwork for you. And then I'm going to work for free. I'm not going to take anything. And it's like, why would I do that? If a deal comes to me, why wouldn't I do it? So it's like, I think that it's like almost like the entitlement. I think people need to understand that at the end of the day, if you're willing to give up something to gain more, whether it's knowledge or experience or whatever, maybe even a job, it's worth it 99% of the time. Just make sure to vet out those people.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, man, for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, dude. This was a fun one.
Of course, bro. If you guys are looking for VAs, go to callmagicians.com. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your friends if it brings you any value. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you.